gotta put on the show.
Welcome into Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. There he is, Avery Williamson, the former Tennessee Titan, coming back to Nashville as a member of the New York Jets. It is a beautiful day here in Nashville. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen. I know the weather's shaky back up in the Northeast, but we're having a blast right here.
Oh, this is unbelievable. I'm getting some much-needed vitamin D. I'm ready to leave the stadium for a little bit, walk down Broadway, take it all in here before the Jets and the Titans square off, I believe, 4:05 Eastern time as far as kickoff today.
Right. We're in Central Time, and I don't think a lot of people realize that Tennessee is in Central Time. But regardless, games at 4:05 Eastern, 3:00. So the big question coming into today, who will start at quarterback for the New York Jets? And behind us on the field, we haven't seen Sam Darnold yet, but we have seen Josh McCown and Davis Webb playing catch.
Yeah, Josh McCown was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but then he practiced full on Friday. Of course, Sam Darnold was limited throughout the week, Greens, and listed as questionable. So he could be a game day inactive like you just talked about. Our cameras are catching some of pregame warm-ups right. I haven't seen Darnold. I don't know if you have.
I have not seen him on the field, no. And Josh McCown last week, second start for the Jets last week against the Patriots, threw for 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. What do you like out of what you saw from McCown against the Patriots that you think could translate well in Nashville today?
Well, the Jets moved the football. The bottom line is they moved the football. They had 338 yards of total offense. Josh McCown passed for nearly 300 yards against the Patriots, and he connected a lot of different guys, Greens, as you know. 8 targets in all. Quincy Enunwa really got off to a fast start against the Patriots. You'd love to see that against a physical Titans defense here today in Nashville. He had 73 yards receiving in the first half. And Chris Herndon last week got off against the Patriots. He continues to develop, the rookie tight end, career-high 7 receptions. And Jermaine Kearse got into the act as well. And then finally, you think about the starts. The Jets have really struggled out of the gate here over the past 5 weeks or so. But against the Patriots, they did take the lead in the first quarter with some points. So all those things, you have to look to McCown and say, he did a solid job. Now the next step for the Jets is producing more points, as you know, Greens, because this team has not scored more than 17 points since their matchup against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 7.
The fast start is imperative here, especially on the road in Nashville, because the Jets have only won 2 games on the road since the start of 2017. That was Week 5 against the Browns last year, and then, of course, the Week 1 Monday Night Showdown in Detroit. The Jets won that game, but other than that, the Jets have not won on the road, and the last time the Jets were on the road was Week 9 in Miami. Not the best game for the green and white.
Playing the Jackson 5. We finally got some music out here, Greens. I love it.
Of course. Well, I mean, we are in Nashville. I was expecting some music. EA was calling for music before the show started. It was a little quiet, and now you got your wish. You got a little bit of the Jackson 5 going on.
Yeah, so I'm pumped about that. So so I got a little bit off tangent, but your topic was the road woes for the Jets. Yeah, 2-11 since the beginning of the 2017 season. And I think they're going to be facing a desperate Tennessee Titans team, a team that was beaten by divisional foes in the Colts and the Texans the last 2 weeks by a combined 72-27 count. And this Tennessee team thinks of themselves as a playoff contender. If they're a playoff contender, they would beat the Jets today. But the Jets can give them a lot of doubt, I think, if they can get on them early, and if McCown can somehow establish that early rhythm, which they did last week. One thing that Jeremy Bates emphasized before the game against the Patriots was more third down conversions, saying the Jets have to have more plays. There were 6 of 14 on third down against the Patriots, so I thought that was a step.
The recipe for the Jets on the road is really as easy as the ABCs. You see what I did there? You like that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, we have to have some fun. It's a beautiful day in Nashville, like I said.
It could be a thriller for the Titans today.
Hey, here we go. The puns are starting to roll in. Well, the Jets haven't had a takeaway in their last 5 games. That's largely in part to what's been happening on the field for this Jets team, and really on the road. You talked about a fast start being imperative. Well, takeaways might even top that.
I think something's got to give today, Greens, because not only have the Jets not had a takeaway in 5 games, the Titans haven't had a takeaway in 3 games themselves, and they only have 9 takeaways on the season, known for being that physical, tough defense. I was surprised when I looked at the numbers in terms of takeaways. The Titans are at the bottom of the league, right in that bottom quartile. So, yeah, the Jets, they got to win early downs against this Tennessee Titans team. I think the Titans are going to come out and try to establish that run game with Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis. One
of the better Titans defenders, Kevin Byard, safety, Pro Bowler. He's someone that gotten a couple picks this season. And for the Jets, I mean, you mentioned it, haven't had a turnover since week 6 against the Colts.
Yeah.
And really the Jets are looking for a little spark, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Marcus Mariota has thrown 6 interceptions this year. He's also lost 6 fumbles, or he's fumbled the ball 6 times. So we'll see what happens there. And someone that leads the team with 2 forced fumbles, that's Avery Williamson, the homecoming king here in Nashville. Again, he was drafted by the Titans. He's played here for 4 years, signed with the Jets in the offseason, and now he's the team-leading tackler.
Greens, this is going to be personal for him today. Obviously, not only did he play for the Titans and play here for his first 4 years, but he's a West Tennessee native, a guy who was dubbed a tackling machine before he signed with the green and white, and he's been just that for the Jets defense. He's taken on more of a vocal role with this new team here. He is the guy calling the plays, calling the fronts out to the rest of the defense. And one thing that he talked about over the last couple of weeks is the communication has to be better defensively for the Jets. But I asked Aaron Lee about it in a media session this week, and he said, listen, he's had this game circled on his calendar coming back here to Tennessee, and he thinks he's going to have a big game there.
I really like what I see out of Avery Williamson, especially when the Jets are gang tackling defenders, because he's the first guy. So I'm keeping an eye out to make sure we're not getting hit. I got you, EA. Don't worry about it. So I really like, because he starts to rip the ball out, and he tries to punch the ball out. And he's been very good at it so far this season for the Jets. But what's the next step for Avery Williamson and this Jets defense, especially the 2 middle guys, Darren Lee and Avery Williamson? We're going to talk about them against the Titans running backs in a bit. But what do you want to see out of Williamson today?
I just want him to be all over the field, and I anticipate he will. And I want the Jets to communicate well defensively. You want them to maintain their gap integrity, especially against a guy like Marcus Mariota. But we'll get into the matchups later. But for the Jets, it's all about stopping the run. And they've said that, Greens, every day in the locker room, they said the number 1 priority for this team is stopping the run. Right now, the Jets are 27th in the National Football League in terms of run defense. But I'll tell you what about the Titans. They got some good backs, but they have not had an 100-yard rusher in 2018, which was a surprise to me.
We're going to talk about the Titans backs in just a bit, but EA actually caught up with Avery Williamson earlier this week on Jets Flight Plan. You can watch it every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. And for the full interview, be sure to check out NewYorkJets.com. But here's a quick snippet.
Jets linebacker Avery Williamson is looking forward to his return home. Growing up in Tennessee, Williamson was drafted by his hometown Titans, where he spent the first 4 years of his NFL career.
You know, I've never been on the opposite sideline of the Titans, so it'll be different, but it's a work week, going out there, you know, to get a dub, and it'll be fun, though. It'll be fun. Definitely seeing some old faces, old teammates. Definitely going to be a lot of trash talking.
This past offseason, Williamson signed with the Jets as a free agent and promptly circled this day on his calendar.
I saw it like immediately, and I was like, oh. I was like, okay, yeah, that'll be fun. You know, at the end of the day, the jersey that I put on, I'm going 100% for them. So when I put that jersey on Sunday and I see the opposing offense, a lot of my buddies, they just know that I'm bringing it.
Again, for the full interview, be sure to check out NewYorkJets.com. That was Spotlight with Avery Williamson. And
we got to watch him in warm-ups today, Greens, because he said on that Spotlight that he's going to be doing some trash talking all afternoon, especially in pregame warm-ups, and I asked him specifically who are the guys. He said Taylor Lewan and also center Ben Jones.
Oh, of course. A little trash talk can't hurt anybody.
He said he flips a switch. Like Avery's, as you
He's
know,
one of the best dudes in the locker room.
Yeah, we watched your baseball segment with him, and you were all suited up. You love suiting up. We see you in different uniforms all the time, Greaves. But
you said that's my character.
Yeah,
I almost wore a cowboy hat on the show today. Fun fact. But almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, so I can't talk.
I don't think your executive producer would have allowed you to do that today.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't know if
I'm
it would have
keeping
fit.
an eye out. Don't
Yeah.
worry. All right.
Okay.
All right. You mentioned that we're going to talk about the Tennessee backs, and we mentioned Avery Williamson. Well, the combination of Avery Williamson and Darren Lee against Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis is going to be absolutely key. You mentioned the Jets' run struggles. They've allowed 427 yards in their last two meetings against the Bills and the Patriots combined.
Yeah, they have. Since before the bye, Buffalo came in here and into MetLife Stadium was able to amass over 200 yards. Shady McCoy going over for 100 yards, and that's a team that's really struggled to run the football this season. And then the Patriots got Sony Michel going last week at MetLife Stadium. The Jets, they got to be better against the run today, and I think it's about that front seven, but these two guys are going to have a lot of responsibilities because not only do they got to take away Henry and Lewis in terms of the run game, they got to be up on it when Lewis gets out of the backfield. He's a very good pass catcher, and I know Jets fans are very familiar with him from his days with the Patriots.
Dion Lewis is second on the Tennessee Titans in receptions and yards, and you mentioned their 1-2 punch. Most people would expect Derrick Henry to be the guy that gets more touches because he's a bigger back. Dion Lewis has more carries out of the backfield than Derrick Henry does, but Derrick Henry has more yards. Both of those guys struggling with their averages, 3.7 for Derrick Henry, 3.3 for Dion Lewis. And we talked about this on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM on Friday. The Titans are 8th in the NFL in attempts per game, but they're 27th in average with 3.9 yards a pop.
Yeah, and they're going to be looking at the they're going to be looking at the Jets' defense as an opportunity for them to get the run game going. But conversely, like you just mentioned those stats there, if I'm the Jets, I say this is an opportunity for us to get our run defense back to the standard where we originally set at the beginning of the season, Greens, and they have to take away those two guys because what happens then is you put all the pressure on Marcus Mariota. This is a ball control offense, and the Titans have struggled scoring the football this year.
Marcus Mariota is completing 70.3% of his passes this season. Todd Bowles said that when you take away the run, that's when Marcus Mariota hurts you with his arm. And we'll touch on the Jets' pass rush against Marcus Mariota, but you look at his stats right here, 283 rushing yards on the ground. That's 6th for quarterbacks this season. But someone on the Titans' defensive line that's really been good for them since he's joined the Tennessee Titans is Jarrell Casey. Pro Bowler, 4.5 sacks this year. That's second on the team, and the Jets really have to account for him, especially because James Carpenter went down on IR earlier this week.
Greens, Casey is one of the best interior players in the National Football League. Now, what are the Jets going to do this week with Carpenter being on injured reserve? Well, they got a week under their belt with Jonathan Harrison at center and the aforementioned Spencer Long at left guard. But Todd Bowles did say we have some packages for Brent Quale and also Dakota Dozier as well. So the Jets could use a rotation at guard, but I thought Long performed very well last week, and so did Jonathan Harrison for that matter. But where you're going to see Casey, they move him around. He's not just going to stay on the left or the right side. He's going to bounce around all over the line. But the main responsibility today will probably be Long because they'll probably try to get him over Long, but Brian Winters as well because, like I said, and that guy can wreck a game. He's that good.
Well, one of the top
quick, explosive, strong. He's got it all.
One of the top playmakers for the Titans on offense, that's Corey Davis. He was the number 5 overall draft pick in 2017, the pick before Jamal Adams ended up in green and white, and he's had a career year so far. Banged up his rookie year, 700 yards this season, and he leads the Titans in receptions and yards and receiving touchdowns.
He's a big guy, too, and he's on pace for an 1,000-yard season like you mentioned, Greens. I anticipate the Jets countering with Trumaine Johnson because when you look at Corey Davis, he's a big guy with a lot of length. He can run. I know Tremaine Johnson was banged up early this season. He played last week. I think the natural matchup is to put Tremaine Johnson on Corey Davis and let those guys go one-on-one.
Tremaine Johnson is an interesting case because we talk about this a lot. Probably not the way he envisioned the start to his Jets career. Of course, he signed in the offseason, one of the big-ticket additions. He hurts his quad, misses 4 games for the Jets, and he's had 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery so far this season.
And it's tough getting in that rhythm, right? Because
what do you expect out of him down the stretch?
Well, and I've told you this before, I'm very excited to see the secondary down the stretch, but I'm very disappointed that Marcus May's not going to be part of it because he was placed on injured reserve yesterday, actually, Greens, and the Jets brought up Jeremy Clark, a cornerback who, like May, is in his 2nd season. But Tremaine Johnson and also, of course, Jamal Adams, who should be going to the Pro Bowl after this season is done. Those guys are going to be fixtures in that secondary. So for Tremaine Johnson, a veteran who's been very successful in the National Football League, I think this can be a bridge to next year for him, finishing down the stretch like the way he maybe would have wanted to start the season. So I think it just would give him a bridge to next year, get some confidence going. He is a very confident guy. I just think that we haven't seen the best of him yet, and we're going to see it at some point. It could be in December.
All right, let's talk about Marcus Mariota now. We mentioned him briefly here and there. Well, Mariota, dangerous with his legs. That's what he's known for. Number 2 overall pick back in the day out of Oregon. These Jets pass rushers, I spoke to Jets outside linebacker Brandon Copeland, and he said his sheer athleticism is what differentiates Mariota compared to some of the other mobile guys that the Jets have seen earlier this season, like Mitchell Trubisky of the Bears, like Ryan Tannehill of the Dolphins, and even someone like Blake Bortles, who scampered for 23 yards against the Jets.
How about Mariota's numbers last week? I know you're talking about what he can do with his feet. Very interesting game Monday night in Houston because he completed 22 of 23 passes, and yet his team lost by 17 points. You mentioned Davis before.
Well, wait, real quick. What does that say about this Titans offense? If you have 1 incompletion, but you're completing crazy amount, and yet you lose by 17. What do you attribute that to?
It tells me you're not staying on the field. It tells me you're not getting chunk plays in the pass game. That's what it tells me, because if you are getting chunk plays in the pass game, and they did have a couple of I think they had a couple of long touchdowns in that game, but it hasn't been consistent for them. They're not scoring points, Greens. When you look at this team, they're not really scoring points. But the tight end the Jets have to be familiar with, and they have been because of their prep this week, is Jonnu Smith, who's a speedster, an athletic guy, and things like that. But you mentioned Mariota. You got to be up on it as far as the RPOs are concerned. Because you said Jordan Jenkins said this guy's a freakish athlete, and he definitely is. And he's going to be testing those ends. He's going to take a look to see if they're cheating at all inside, because if they're cheating at all inside, when he fakes that handoff, he's going to take it, he's going to tuck, and he's going to go. But interesting, they have a first-year offensive coordinator, a first-year head coach. I just feel like the Titans, when you look at them, they're not protecting. And their offensive line has had a lot of problems this year to lead the National Football League in terms of sacks allowed. And like we mentioned, the run struggles have been well documented. So I don't know what they can hang their hat on right now. They're searching for it, Greens. But the last time they were here, they pounded the New England Patriots by a 34-10 score.
The Tennessee offensive line, 39 sacks, most in the league, you mentioned, and Mariota's been back there for 35 of them. Again, Marcus Mariota didn't play week 2. Blaine Gabbert played in his absence and actually got the start the next week, but then he got hurt, so Mariota came in relief for him. This Titans team is kind of an enigma because you look at the stats, they're good, yet they're questionable, but regardless, I think it's time for the Pepsi fan of the game. And we're going out to Australia for the Pepsi fan of the game.
So we're not just going across the pond.
No, we're going all the way to Australia. I've been there once. I think you've been there once, you said.
I've never been to Australia.
Oh, maybe that was someone
But
else.
I mean, I guess you put me there, so
Okay.
I'll take that.
You've been there now. So our Pepsi fan of the game is Sean. And again, if you want to be the Pepsi fan of the game, we'll be highlighting different fans each week. So download the official New York Jets mobile app and watch this show, Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi, before every Jets game, home and away, for a chance for you to be our Pepsi fan of the game. Big ups to Sean. I know he's big on Twitter. He's up at crazy hours in the morning because of the time difference, and he's watching all Jets social, video. He probably watched Spotlight like 100 times.
Sean watches everything.
Yes, he does.
Jets 360 Productions puts out. And with the time difference, I don't know how he's putting that in and doing other things, but
yeah, you got to give credit to that. That's dedication.
He is a loyal customer, so you know, if you're going to Australia and see green and white, that's probably Sean Walsh carrying a Jets flag.
All right, it's time for Fearless Predictions here on Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi. What you got?
Avery Williamson. How about double-digit tackles for him? And let's give him 2 stops behind the line of scrimmage. This is a prideful guy. This game means a lot to him. He started his career here, West Tennessee native. He's going to have a section inside the stadium here today, probably wearing 54 jerseys, but they're making that drive about 2 hours away from West Tennessee. We're about 2 hours away from where we are here in Nashville, but I think he's going to be all over the field today.
I heard you had a bonus prediction, too.
I got a bonus prediction. One of these one of these 2 teams is getting a takeaway today, Greens.
Oh,
okay?
That's not fearless.
Yeah, it is, because the Jets haven't had a takeaway 5 games. The Titans haven't had 1 and 3. So one of these 2 teams will have a takeaway.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm coming in hot with some fearless predictions.
That's a lead pipe guaranteed.
I'm going in with I'm putting the fear in fearless predictions here. I'm going Jets defense, 2 turnovers. What do you think about that?
2 takeaways?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of which may or may not be Trumaine Johnson. Whoa! All right, there we have it for Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi. That's all we have. Jets Titans in a couple hours. Again, for all the action, in-game, post-game, be sure to check out NewYorkJets.com.
What was that noise that just came out of your mouth?
That
Can
was
you do that again?
That was the executive producer special, Chris Gargano. That's all we have here on Pregame Central. Again, Eric Allen, Ethan Greenberg. Be sure to check out NewYorkJets.com.